Flowers in the morning light, fluttering softly, taking flight. Buzzing hums in the meadow's breeze, a symphony among the trees. Little wings of wonder in the air, dancing freely without a care. From the skies to the forest floor, nature's beauty forevermore.
Little Wings of Wonder, Episode 7. Photography and Observation Tips. Capturing the essence of nature's flying jewels. Brought to you by the 1940s. Romance, murder mystery novel. Underlying Love, a Worthington, Ohio mystery. And by the Little Wings of Wonder book series. Both available at major book retailers. The pursuit of photographing and observing hummingbirds represents one of the most rewarding yet challenging aspects of wildlife appreciation. These tiny, hyperactive subjects combine breathtaking beauty with lightning-fast movements, creating opportunities for stunning imagery, while demanding patience, skill, and specialized techniques from those who seek to document their lives. Whether your goal is creating artistic photographs, conducting scientific observations, or simply developing a deeper appreciation for these remarkable creatures. Successful hummingbird documentation requires understanding both the technical aspects of equipment and the behavioral patterns that govern bird activity. The digital photography revolution has democratized wildlife photography, making it possible for enthusiasts with modest budgets to capture images that would have required professional equipment just decades ago. Modern cameras offer incredible capabilities in terms of autofocus speed, burst rates, and image quality, while advances in lens technology have made long focal lengths more affordable and portable than ever before. However, technical capability alone cannot guarantee success. Understanding hummingbird behavior, anticipating their movements, and positioning yourself advantageously remain the most critical factors in successful documentation. Beyond the technical pursuit of perfect images lies the deeper reward of intimate observation and understanding. The process of watching hummingbirds closely enough to photograph them inevitably leads to discoveries about their behavior, preferences, and individual personalities that transform casual interest into passionate engagement. Many photographers find that their pursuit of images becomes secondary to the joy of observation, with the camera serving as both documentation tool and excuse for extended periods of quiet contemplation in nature. The artistic tradition of nature journaling, recently popularized by works like Amy Tan's The Backyard Bird Chronicles, offers an alternative or complementary approach to wildlife documentation that combines observation skills with artistic expression and written reflection. This approach encourages slower, more contemplative engagement with subjects while developing observational skills that ultimately improve all forms of wildlife documentation. Equipment recommendations. Across budget ranges. Entry-level setup, $200 to $500. Beginning hummingbird photographers often assume that expensive equipment is essential for success. But remarkable images can be captured with surprisingly modest gear when combined with good technique and understanding of subject behavior. The key is maximizing the capabilities of available equipment while developing skills that will transfer to more advanced systems as budgets allow. Modern smartphone cameras have reached impressive levels of capability, particularly when equipped with telephoto attachments or used in conjunction with spotting scopes through digiscoping techniques. The instant availability of smartphones makes them ideal for capturing unexpected moments, while their video capabilities excel at documenting behavior patterns that might be missed in still photography. Entry-level DSLR and mirrorless cameras paired with kit lenses provide significant advantages over smartphone cameras in terms of optical zoom capability, manual control options, and overall image quality. A camera body in the $300 to $400 range paired with a telephoto lens in the 70 to 300 millimeter range creates a capable system for Hummingbird photography when used with proper technique. The limitations of entry-level equipment can often be overcome through creative approaches to positioning and subject management. Working closer to subjects through careful blind construction or patient habituation allows shorter focal length lenses to fill the frame effectively, while understanding lighting conditions helps maximize image quality from less sophisticated sensors. Extension tubes offer an affordable way to transform standard telephoto lenses into macro-capable systems suitable for close-up Hummingbird photography. These simple accessories reduce minimum focusing distance while maintaining full lens functionality, creating opportunities for detailed studies of feeding behavior and physical characteristics. Mid-range systems, $500 to $1,500. The mid-range budget category opens significant possibilities for dedicated Hummingbird photography systems that balance capability with affordability. This price point typically allows for either a higher quality camera body with a basic telephoto lens or an entry-level body paired with a professional-grade lens, a choice that often favors lens quality for wildlife applications. Camera bodies in this range offer substantially improved autofocus systems with more focus points, faster tracking capabilities, and higher burst rates that significantly improve success rates with fast-moving subjects. The improved low-light performance typical of mid-range sensors extends shooting opportunities into early morning and late afternoon periods, when Hummingbird activity often peaks. Telephoto zoom lenses in the 100 to 400 millimeter or 150 to 600 millimeter ranges provide the focal length flexibility that makes Hummingbird photography significantly more practical. These lenses allow frame-filling images from comfortable working distances while offering zoom flexibility to adapt to different behavioral situations and subject proximity. Image stabilization, either in lens or in body, becomes particularly valuable for Hummingbird photography, where the combination of long focal lengths and active subjects creates substantial challenges for achieving sharp images. Modern stabilization systems can compensate for several stops of camera shake, dramatically improving success rates in handheld shooting situations. Weather sealing features found in mid-range equipment provide practical advantages for outdoor photography, where exposure to moisture and dust is inevitable. The ability to continue shooting in light rain or dusty conditions extends opportunities while protecting valuable equipment investments. Professional systems, $1,500 plus. Professional level equipment offers capabilities that can dramatically improve success rates and creative possibilities in Hummingbird photography. Though the law of diminishing returns means that skill and technique remain more important than equipment sophistication, the primary advantages of professional systems lie in their speed, precision, and reliability under demanding conditions. High-end camera bodies feature autofocus systems with hundreds of focus points, sophisticated subject tracking algorithms, and burst rates exceeding 10 frames per second. These capabilities become particularly valuable when photographing hummingbirds in flight, where split-second timing and precise focus tracking can make the difference between success and failure. Professional telephoto lenses offer superior optical quality, wider maximum apertures for better low-light performance and subject isolation, and more sophisticated image stabilization systems. The wider apertures typical of professional lenses, f2.8 or f4, provide significant advantages in terms of shutter speed capability and background control compared to variable aperture alternatives. Specialized macro lenses designed for close-up work open creative possibilities for detailed studies of hummingbird anatomy, feeding mechanisms, and interactions with flowers. These lenses typically offer superior optical quality at close focusing distances, while providing working distances that don't unduly disturb subjects. Multiple camera body systems allow photographers to maintain different focal length lenses simultaneously, reducing the need to change lenses during active periods and eliminating the risk of missing opportunities during equipment changes. This approach becomes particularly valuable during peak activity periods when every moment counts. Understanding and predicting behavioral patterns. Daily activity cycles. Hummingbird activity follows predictable daily patterns. That understanding can dramatically improve photography success rates. Most species show peak activity during the first few hours after sunrise and again in the late afternoon before sunset, with reduced activity during the heat of midday hours. The morning activity peak typically begins approximately 30 minutes before sunrise, as birds break their overnight torpor and begin seeking food sources to replenish energy reserves depleted during the night. This period often provides the most cooperative subjects, as birds focus intensively on feeding rather than territorial behavior. Mid-morning hours often feature increased territorial activity as birds establish and defend feeding territories for the day. While this period can provide dynamic action shots of chases and confrontations, it can also create challenges as dominant birds prevent subordinates from accessing prime feeding locations. Midday activity varies significantly with weather conditions and season. During hot summer weather, many hummingbirds retreat to shaded areas and reduce activity levels to conserve energy and avoid overheating. However, in cooler conditions or during migration periods, midday can remain quite active. Late afternoon resurgence begins approximately 2 to 3 hours before sunset as birds prepare for the overnight fast by building energy reserves. This period often provides the most intense feeding activity of the day, with birds showing increased tolerance for close approach as feeding urgency overrides normal caution. Evening activity continues until light levels become too low for effective foraging, often extending into twilight hours during summer months. Understanding the specific timing of evening shutdown in your area helps maximize late-day shooting opportunities. Territorial behavior and dominance hierarchies. Hummingbird territorial behavior creates both opportunities and challenges for photographers. Understanding dominance relationships and territorial boundaries helps predict where birds will appear and how they will behave, enabling better positioning and timing for photographic opportunities. Dominant males typically claim the most productive feeding areas and defend them aggressively against all competitors. These birds often establish predictable patrol routes and perching sites that can be used to anticipate their movements and position equipment advantageously. Subordinate birds often feed quickly and nervously, creating challenges for photographers, but also opportunities for capturing natural behavioral expressions. Understanding the timing of subordinate feeding attempts helps predict when these opportunities will arise. Territorial disputes follow predictable patterns that can be anticipated and photographed when participants are identified and their conflict patterns understood. Many territorial chases follow similar flight paths repeatedly, allowing photographers to position for optimal coverage of dramatic encounters. Female behavior during breeding season differs significantly from male patterns, with females focusing more on nest building and maintenance duties than territorial defense. Understanding breeding chronology helps predict when female behavior will shift and what activities will dominate their time budgets. Juvenile behavior patterns differ from adults in their lack of established territorial boundaries and their willingness to explore new areas. Young birds often provide more cooperative subjects for close-up photography, while learning to navigate adult territorial systems. Feeding behavior and flower preferences. Understanding feeding behavior patterns helps predict where and when photographic opportunities will arise, while providing insights into optimal positioning strategies. Different flowers elicit different feeding behaviors, with some encouraging brief visits, while others support extended feeding sessions. Flower approach patterns vary among species and individuals, but often follow predictable routes that can be anticipated once learned. Many birds approach flowers from specific angles or directions, allowing photographers to position for optimal lighting and composition based on these preferences. Feeding duration varies with flower type, nectar concentration, and bird energy requirements. Understanding which flowers encourage longer visits helps photographers select optimal shooting locations and timing strategies. Hover feeding versus perch feeding behaviors require different photographic approaches and techniques. Some flowers naturally encourage hovering behavior, while others provide perching opportunities that may be easier to photograph but less dynamic in appearance. Sequential feeding patterns often develop as birds learn optimal routes through gardens or natural areas. Understanding these patterns allows photographers to anticipate bird movements and position equipment along established flight paths. Photographic techniques and strategies. Shutter speed and motion control. Hummingbird photography demands careful consideration of shutter speed selection to balance the competing demands of stopping motion, maintaining image sharpness, and working within available light constraints. The rapid wing movement of hummingbirds creates unique challenges that require specialized approaches. For completely frozen wing motion, shutter speeds of 1/2000th second or faster are typically required, though even these speeds may not completely stop the wingtips of rapidly beating wings. These high speeds often require increased ISO settings or wider apertures to maintain proper exposure, creating trade-offs between motion stopping and other image quality factors. Partial motion blur can create more dynamic and natural-looking images that convey the energy and movement characteristic of hummingbird behavior. Shutter speeds in the 1/250 to 1/250 second range often provide good body sharpness while allowing wing blur that suggests movement without creating distraction. Flash photography offers unique opportunities for motion control through extremely brief flash durations that can freeze movement more effectively than any mechanical shutter speed. Multiple flash setups can provide sophisticated lighting control while ensuring adequate light levels for optimal image quality. Continuous autofocus modes become essential for tracking moving subjects, though the effectiveness varies significantly among camera systems. Understanding the strengths and limitations of available autofocus systems helps optimize settings for Hummingbird photography applications. Composition and background control. Effective Hummingbird photography requires careful attention to composition elements that can make the difference between documentary shots and compelling artistic images. The small size of Hummingbird subjects places particular demands on background control and compositional planning. Clean backgrounds separate subjects from distracting elements while emphasizing the beauty and detail of the birds themselves. Understanding depth of field control and background selection helps create images that showcase subjects effectively, without visual confusion. Natural perches and props can enhance compositions while providing rest points that encourage longer stays for extended photography sessions. Strategic placement of attractive perching options helps control subject positioning while maintaining natural appearance. Lighting direction and quality dramatically affect mood and visual impact in Hummingbird photography. Understanding how different lighting conditions affect iridescent plumage helps photographers time their efforts for optimal conditions while positioning equipment to maximize lighting effectiveness. Multiple angle coverage of individual subjects provides creative options while ensuring successful capture of brief behavioral opportunities. Understanding efficient repositioning strategies helps maximize coverage during limited time windows. Flash photography techniques. Flash photography opens unique creative possibilities for Hummingbird imagery while solving technical challenges related to the high shutter speeds required for motion control. Modern flash systems offer sophisticated control options that can create natural-looking results when used skillfully. Multiple flash setups provide lighting control that rivals studio photography, while allowing work in challenging outdoor conditions. Understanding flash positioning and power ratios helps create dimensional lighting that enhances subject form and plumage detail. High-speed sync capabilities allow flash use with the high shutter speeds required for motion control. Though understanding the power limitations of high-speed sync helps optimize technical settings for best results. Flash duration considerations become important for controlling motion blur, with shorter flash durations providing better motion stopping at the expense of light output. Understanding the relationship between flash power and duration helps optimize settings for specific applications. Natural light and flash combination techniques help create images that maintain natural appearance, while providing the technical control advantages of artificial lighting. Understanding color temperature matching and light ratio control helps create seamless integration of natural and artificial light sources. Drawing and journaling techniques. Observational drawing fundamentals. Drawing hummingbirds requires a different approach than photography, emphasizing sustained observation and careful analysis of form and behavior rather than split-second capture of fleeting moments. This slower, more contemplative approach often reveals behavioral details that rapid photography might miss while developing deeper understanding of subject anatomy and movement patterns. Basic sketching techniques focus on capturing essential characteristics rather than photographic detail, emphasizing gesture, proportion, and distinctive features that define individual species and behaviors. Quick gesture sketches can capture the essence of movement and behavior in ways that detailed drawings might miss. Proportional relationships become critical for creating believable hummingbird drawings with the distinctive head size, bill length, and body proportions, requiring careful observation and measurement. Understanding basic bird anatomy helps create structurally sound drawings that serve both artistic and scientific purposes. Field sketching techniques prioritize speed and efficiency while maintaining accuracy in essential details. Understanding which details are most important for identification and behavioral documentation helps focus effort on elements that will be most valuable for future reference. Color notation systems help record plumage details that may be difficult to capture accurately in quick sketches. Developing personal notation systems for iridescent effects, subtle color variations, and lighting conditions helps create more complete records for later reference. Behavioral documentation through art. Artistic documentation of behavior requires developing visual vocabulary for common postures, movements, and interactions that characterize hummingbird life. Understanding how to represent feeding positions, territorial displays, and flight attitudes helps create more informative and compelling artwork. Sequential drawing techniques can document complex behaviors that unfold over time, creating visual narratives that single images cannot capture. Understanding how to break complex behaviors into component parts helps create more complete behavioral documentation. Environmental context in drawings helps place behaviors within their ecological settings, while providing information about habitat preferences and resource use patterns. Including flowers, perches, and other environmental elements creates more complete behavioral documentation. Action line concepts help convey movement and energy in static drawings, using line direction and emphasis to suggest motion and behavioral intent. Understanding how to use line weight and direction helps create dynamic illustrations that capture behavioral essence. Expression and personality documentation through drawing helps record individual variations in behavior and appearance that contribute to understanding hummingbird diversity and character. Developing techniques for capturing subtle differences in posture and expression helps create more complete behavioral records. Written observation and reflection. Combining written observations with visual documentation creates more complete records that serve both personal enjoyment and scientific value. Written records can capture information about timing, weather conditions, and behavioral context that visual documentation alone might miss. Daily observation logs help track patterns in bird activity, seasonal changes, and individual behaviors over time. Consistent record keeping reveals patterns that might not be apparent from casual observation while providing valuable data for understanding local hummingbird ecology. Weather correlation notes help understand how environmental conditions affect bird behavior and activity patterns. Recording temperature, wind conditions, and precipitation helps identify optimal conditions for both bird activity and photography success. Individual bird recognition and tracking helps develop understanding of territorial relationships, personality differences, and long-term behavioral patterns. Learning to recognize individual birds through distinctive markings or behaviors adds depth to observational records. Seasonal progression documentation captures the changing patterns of activity throughout the year, from spring arrival through fall departure. Understanding seasonal behavioral changes helps predict optimal times for different types of observation and photography activities. Creating your personal hummingbird chronicles. Developing a documentation system. Creating effective personal chronicles requires developing organizational systems that balance completeness with practicality. The most successful approaches integrate multiple forms of documentation while maintaining consistency over time. Digital organization systems help manage the large volumes of images and notes that serious Hummingbird documentation generates. Understanding file naming conventions, keyword systems, and backup strategies helps ensure long-term accessibility of accumulated records. Cross-referencing between photographs, drawings, and written observations creates more complete documentation while making information easier to access when needed. Developing systems that link different types of records helps maximize the value of accumulated documentation. Seasonal organization helps track the annual cycles that characterize hummingbird life while making it easier to compare year-to-year variations in timing and behavior. Understanding how to organize records by season helps identify long-term patterns and changes. Equipment integration considerations help ensure that documentation systems work efficiently with available tools and techniques. Understanding how to coordinate cameras, sketchbooks, and note-taking tools helps create smoother workflows that encourage consistent documentation. Long-term project development. Sustained hummingbird documentation projects can provide years of satisfaction while contributing to scientific understanding of local populations and behaviors. The most successful long-term projects balance ambitious goals with realistic expectations about time and effort requirements. Multi-year tracking projects help understand population dynamics, individual life histories, and long-term environmental changes that affect local hummingbird communities. Understanding how to design studies that can be sustained over multiple years helps create more valuable long-term records. Collaborative opportunities with local naturalist groups, universities, or citizen science programs can enhance individual documentation efforts while contributing to broader scientific understanding. Understanding how personal observations can contribute to larger research efforts helps maximize the value of individual work. Educational applications of personal chronicles can inspire others while sharing accumulated knowledge with broader audiences. Understanding how to present observations in accessible formats helps extend the impact of individual documentation efforts. Conservation applications of long-term documentation can contribute to habitat protection and species conservation efforts. Understanding how to document environmental changes and their effects on hummingbird populations helps create records that support conservation planning and advocacy. The pursuit of hummingbird photography and observation offers endless opportunities for discovery, creativity, and personal growth. Whether approached through the technical challenges of photography, the contemplative practices of drawing and journaling, or the long-term commitment of chronicle development, engagement with these remarkable birds provides rewards that extend far beyond the immediate satisfaction of successful documentation. The combination of artistic expression, scientific observation, and personal reflection that characterizes the best hummingbird chronicles creates lasting records that serve both individual enjoyment and broader understanding of these extraordinary creatures. If you liked what you heard today, consider purchasing other books by Bradley Barkhurst, including Underlying Love, a Worthington, Ohio mystery. It's 1941 in the quaint village of Worthington, Ohio. Life is changing at the end of the Great Depression. Elizabeth Russo, 23, teaches elementary school but feels uncertain about her future. Her Sicilian immigrant father ran the Red and White, a popular village general store. 5 years prior, Elizabeth's high school sweetheart Samuel left the village abruptly, leaving her with unanswered questions. Now engaged to George, the red and white's accountant, Elizabeth still can't forget Samuel. When her father tragically passes away, and her mother goes to Cincinnati to help her ailing Aunt Gracie,